Pardon me, I hit stream before I was ready today. How's everybody doing? Hope you're well. Getting ready to get started here. Got my coffee, not on my person, but in the cup this time. You know, little improvements. All right, let's continue. Number 15, we're in book 8. Remember, you shouldn't be surprised that a fig tree produces figs, nor the world what it produces. A good doctor isn't surprised when his patients have fevers, or a helmsman when the wind blows against him. Number 16. Remember that to change your mind and to accept correction are free acts too. The action is yours based on your own will, your own decision, and your own mind. Number 17. If it is in your control, why do you do it? If it's in your control, why do you do it? If it's in someone else's, then who are you blaming? Atoms? The gods? Stupid either way. Blame no one. Set people straight if you can. If not, just repair the damage. And suppose you can't do that either. Then where does blaming people get you? No pointless actions. 18. What dies and doesn't vanish? It stays here in the world. What dies doesn't vanish, it stays here in the world, transformed, dissolved, as parts of the world and of you, which are transformed in turn, without grumbling. Highlighting a lot of these here. Number 19. Everything is here for a purpose, from horses to vine shoots. What's surprising about this? Even the sun will tell you, I have a purpose, and the other gods as well. And why were you born? For pleasure? See if that answer will stand up to questioning. 20. Nature is like someone throwing a ball in the air, gauging its rise and arc and where it will fall. And what does the ball gain as it flies upwards, or lose when it plummets to earth? What does the bubble gain from its existence, or lose by bursting? And the same for a candle. 21. Turn it inside out. What is it like? What is it like old or sick or selling itself on the streets? They all die soon, praiser and praised, rememberer and remembered, remembered in these parts or in a corner of them. Even there they don't all agree with each other or even with themselves, and the whole earth a mere point in space. 22. Stick to what's in front of you. Idea, action, utterance. 22a. This is what you deserve. You could be good today, but instead you chose tomorrow. 23. What I do, I attribute it to human beneficence. What is done to me, I accept it and attribute it to the gods, and that source from which all things together flow. 24. Like the baths, oil, sweat, dirt, grayish water, all of it disgusting, the whole of life, all of the visible world. Jesus. This 23 one bothers me. What I do, I attribute it to human beneficence, not to himself. What is done to me, I accept it and attribute it to the gods and that source from which all things together flow. This is a detachment from reality. If you do something good, then you should be attributing it to yourself and your decisions, and you're training yourself through habits to do good things. And if you do bad things, you should be attributing that same stuff to yourself, so that you can know the truth of the situation. And what is done to you, you should be attributing it to the people that do it to you, because that will help you identify the reality and the truth of the problem. 25. Verus, leaving Lucilla behind, then Lucilla. Maximus, leaving Secunda, and Secunda, Diotimus, leaving Epidincanus, then Epidincanus. Faustina, leaving Antoninus, then Antoninus. So with all of them. Hadrian leaving cellar and cellar. Where have they gone? The brilliant, the insightful ones, the proud. Brilliant as Charax and Demetrius, the Platonist, and Eudaemon, and the rest of them. Short-lived creatures long dead. Some of them not remembered at all. Some become legends. Some lost even to legend. So remember, your components will be scattered too, the life within you quenched, or marching orders and another posting. 26. Joy for humans lies in human actions. Human actions, kindness to others, contempt for the senses, the interrogation of appearances, observation of nature and of events in nature. 27. 3 relationships. 1, with the body you inhabit. 2, with the divine, the cause of everything and all things. 3, with the people around you. 28. Either pain affects the body, which is the body's problem, or it affects the soul, but the soul can choose not to be affected, persevering its own serenity, its own tranquility. Preserving its own serenity and its own tranquility. All our decisions, urges, desires, aversions lie within, and no evil can touch them. 29. To erase false perceptions, tell yourself, I have it in me to keep my soul from evil, lust, and all confusion, to see things as they are and treat them as they deserve. Don't overlook this innate ability. 30. To speak to the Senate, or anyone, in the right tone without being overbearing, to choose the right words. 31. Augustus's court, his wife, his daughter, his grandsons, his stepsons, his sister, Agrippa, the relatives, servants, friends, Arius, Maecenas, the doctors, the sacrificial priests, the whole court, dead. And consider the others, not just the deaths of individuals like the family of the Pompeys, that line they write on tombs, last surviving descendant. Consider their ancestors' anxiety that there be a successor, but someone has to be the last, there too, the death of a whole house. Wow. "32. You have to assemble your life yourself, action by action, and be satisfied if each one achieves its goal as far as it can. No one can keep that from happening. But there are external obstacles. Not to behaving with justice, self-control, and good sense. Well, but perhaps to some more concrete action. But if you accept the obstacle and work with what you're given, an alternative will present itself. Another piece of what you're trying to assemble, action by action. 33. To accept it without arrogance, to let it go with indifference. 34. Have you ever seen a severed hand or foot or a decapitated head just lying somewhere far away from the body it belonged to? Holy crap. What a different time they lived in. That's what we do to ourselves, or try to, when we rebel against what happens to us, when we segregate ourselves, or when we do something selfish. You have torn yourself away from unity, your natural state, one you were born to share in. Now you've cut yourself off from it. But you have one advantage here: you can reattach yourself, a privilege God has granted to no other part of no other whole, to be separated, cut away, and reunited. But look how he's singled us out. He's allowed us not to be broken off in the first place. And when we are, he's allowed us to return, to graft ourselves back on and take up our old position once again, part of a whole. 35. We have various abilities, present in all rational creatures as in the nature of rationality itself. And this is one of them. Just as nature takes every obstacle, every impediment, and works around it, turns it to its purposes, incorporates it into itself, so too a rational being can turn each setback into raw material and use it to achieve its goals. 36. That's a good one. I gotta highlight that one. That deserves more thought. That's just a restating of What's thrown before the fire fuels the fire. 36. Don't let your imagination be crushed by life as a whole. Don't try to picture everything bad that could possibly happen. Stick with the situation at hand and ask, why is this so unbearable? Why can't I endure it? You'll be embarrassed to answer. That's the one I've been talking about for weeks now. That's really good. I'm going to read that again. Don't let your imagination be crushed by life as a whole. Don't try to picture everything bad that could possibly happen. Stick with the situation at hand and ask, why is this so unbearable? Why can't I endure it? You'll be embarrassed to answer. Then, remind yourself that past and future have no power over you, only the present. And even that can be minimized. Just mark off its limits. And if your mind tries to claim that it can't hold out against that, well then, heap shame upon it. 37. Are Panthea or Pergamos still keeping watch at the tomb of Verus? Chabrias or Diotimus at the tomb of Hadrian? Of course they aren't. Would the emperors know it if they were? And even if they knew, would it please them? And even if it did, would the mourners live forever? Were they too not fated to grow old and then die? And then when that happened, what would the emperors do? 38. The stench of decay, rotting meat in a bag. Look at it clearly if you can. 39. To the best of my judgment, this is a quote. Quote, to the best of my judgment, when I look at the human character, I see no virtue placed there to counter justice, but I see one to counter pleasure, self-control. 40. Stop perceiving the pain you imagine, and you'll remain completely unaffected. You're Logos. But I'm not just Logos. Fine, just don't let the Logos be injured. If anything else is, let it decide that for itself. 41. For animate beings, harmful is whatever obstructs the operation of their senses, or the fulfillment of what they intend. Similar obstructions constitute harms to... I think my kids might be calling me. 1 second. Mom is gone. She'll be back in a couple hours. All right, sorry about that. I'm single parenting for a couple hours here. Gotta make sure things are not on fire. All right, where were we? For animate beings, harmful is whatever obstructs the operation of their senses or the fulfillment of what they intend. Similar obstructions constitute harm to plants. So too for rational creatures. Anything that obstructs the operation of the mind is harmful. Apply this to yourself. Do pain and pleasure have their hooks in you? Let the senses deal with it. Are there obstacles to your action? If you failed to reckon with the possibility, then that would harm you as a rational being. But if you use common sense, you haven't been harmed or even obstructed. No one can obstruct the operations of the mind. Nothing can get at them. Not fire or steel, not tyrants, not abuse, nothing, as long as it's a sphere in perfect stillness. I don't know, I'm going to have to think about this further, but I don't know if this is what Marcus intended. It probably wasn't. But this is the thing that spoke to me in the beginning of 41. Harmful is whatever obstructs the operation of their senses or the fulfillment of what they intend. Similar obstructions constitute harm to plants. So, too, for rational creatures, anything that obstructs the operation of the mind is harmful. This is why I just have stayed mostly away from any intoxicants or drugs or anything like that. Maybe this is weird. I never hear anybody else say this, so maybe I'm freaking weird, but I really enjoy being in touch with reality. Like, I enjoy having my interface, my senses on reality as clear as possible. 42. I have no right to do myself an injury. Have I ever injured anyone else if I could avoid it? 43. People find pleasure in different ways. I find it in keeping my mind clear, in not turning away from people or the things that happen to them, in accepting and welcoming everything I see, in treating each thing as it deserves. I guess that's kind of the answer to what I just said. People find pleasure in different ways, and I find it in keeping my mind clear. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's what it is, right? That's fine. In not running away from people or the things that happen to them, in accepting and welcoming everything I see, in treating each thing as it deserves. Okay. That was a good day. Good stuff to read in there. So I had a really long think time today, actually. Thinking about what I have to do today, as well as the goals and theme for the month of May. And I think I've got an interesting theme and an interesting challenge for myself. The theme for the month of May is going to be that quote from Marcus: "Do everything as if it were the last thing you were doing in your life." And I was thinking a lot about this, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm looking at my to-do list for today, and some of it is involving checking and responding to emails, and it completely feels utterly absurd to respond to my emails as if it were the last thing I'm doing in my life. So there's two things that you can take from that thought. One, am I making sure that I'm responding to the emails that are actually necessary to respond to, that are actually important enough? And if they're important enough, maybe they can be one of those things that I treat as if it was the last thing I was doing in my life. And if it's not, maybe I don't need to respond to it. Maybe I need to make sure that I'm only doing necessary things and not wasting my time on busy work nonsense. But in general, I think it's too much to try and do literally everything as if it were the last thing that you're going to do in your life. I could be wrong, but I think it's worthy of some experimentation. And so what I'm going to do for the month of May, and I don't pick these themes lightly, and I take these challenges seriously, so this will happen. Every day, I will pick one of my tasks, likely one of the most important or critical or essential tasks on my list, on my bullet journal, and you can see the updated version of how I do the bullet journal on that video I did recently. But next to the item, I'm going to write M, two M's, Mike. It stands for Memento Mori. And whatever one I put the M beside is going to be the task that I do that day as if it were the last thing I will do while I'm alive. I want to experience what taking a task on with that kind of attitude and intensity and focus and concentration will be like. So one task a day. We'll start with one. See how it goes. For the month of May, every day there will be one. I think what I'm going to get out of this is I'm going to practice my focus. I'm going to improve my concentration. I'm going to hone my intention. By the end of May, I think I will have more conscious control over these attributes of my mind. I'm looking forward to that. So that's kind of both the theme of the month and my goals for the month. And I'm not sure, I guess when it's not too terribly personal, I'll share which of the tasks on my list will be the thing I do as if it's the last thing I'm going to do in my life for that day. And, if it's too personal, I just won't share it. But today, my daughter has requested daddy-daughter time. And what that means is usually a section of time where I get rid of the phone, I get rid of all distractions, I don't talk to other people, I don't have a lot of other people around, it's her and I, and we both decide on something that we're going to do together, and we do that thing together. And I think this is a great first candidate, because usually maybe my focus isn't really into it, or the thing that she picks isn't maybe not something that I'm super interested in. And so that's why I think that this task is going to be a great first candidate for this kind of intensity and focus. I'm going to sort of give it my all, as if I'm going to die later today, and this is going to be and this is my chance to spend the last bit of time that I can with my daughter. She's going to get my full attention. I'm going to be fully present, and we're going to, I'm going to give it my all and really be there and have a blast with her today. So that's going to be my thing for today, my thing, and we'll see how that works out for the rest of the month. I think that's going to be a cool theme and challenge for May. Yeah, I guess that's all I have for you guys today. Have a great day, guys.